So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Trudy, although I don't think she needs introduction, but I'll still introduce her. I think you all know who she is. But I'll go ahead and read a little bit of her bio. So Trudy Goodman, PhD, is the founding teacher of Inside LA and co-founder of the Institute for Meditation and Psychotherapy. She has taught at universities and retreat centers worldwide for 25 years. Trudy has trained in mindfulness and Zen since 1973, holds a graduate degree in developmental psychology from Harvard, and is one of the senior Buddhist teachers in the US. And Trudy is also a contributing author for the book Clinical Handbook of Mindfulness and Compassion and Wisdom in Psychotherapy. Also mindfulness and psychotherapy. And I'm going to go ahead, actually, we're going to go ahead and post some of the links for Trudy if you'd like to know more, if you'd like to know what she's teaching next. Everything will be on the chat, and we'll keep posting it as you type your hellos and your greetings so that it doesn't get lost on the chat. Also, the structure for today will be, just so that you know, by the way, I know the class is usually recorded, but only the meditation. Today, everything will be recorded. So just so you know, we'll have a video of everything. So if you participate, just know that you're going to go online. It's mainly for a group, but still just know that that's going to happen. Another thing is that today the class is going to unfold with no breakout rooms. We'll go back to the breakout rooms on Monday, but for today, we're just doing Trudy's going to lead us in class with meditation, and the last half hour or so, she'll open it up for questions or reflections or sharing, just like we do. So if you're new, I welcome you as well as I'm welcoming everybody else. And I'd just like to let you know that we're here every Monday and Friday. These are free sessions offered to everybody that might be interested in practicing with us, and everybody's welcome. So it's Monday and Fridays from 11 to 12:30, just same time as we're doing it today, Pacific time, US and Canada. So that being said, I want to pass it over to our wonderful Trudy, who is here with us. And so Trudy, I think I made you co-host. Perfect. Okay.
Thank you, Alex, and hello, everybody. Wow, I've loved looking in the chat and seeing where you're all from. It's really an international group. So congratulations for gathering such an international group, Alex. Really, really happy to see everybody. And these days I begin teaching with just a bow of acknowledgement to, and we can all really do this together, to our ancestors, and especially the people who stewarded the land we're on before we were on it. And here I'm in Northern California at my husband Jack's house in San Rafael. The house that we rent is on land that belonged to the Coast Miwok indigenous peoples before colonization. So I just offer a bow to those who stewarded this land and the land wherever you are before we were here on this land, and also to honor the lineage of my teachers and my mentors and various guides and friends and family along the way. And I think when we do that, when we each honor our unique lineages, that we actually begin to see. Maybe we'd have to go on Ancestry or something to really see, but how our lineages crisscross and intersect over the centuries of time. And I love that we're breathing air molecules that were breathed by those who came way, way, way before us, and so many ways that we're all connected. So I'd like to begin with a meditation. And I'll do, just as Alex does with you, I'll do some guided, some guided meditation. I think it's helpful, especially when we're on Zoom, as opposed to in person, to have some guidance, but I will also leave plenty of time for quiet and silence. Some people love the guided meditation because it helps stay focused. And some people don't like it so much, like me. I always joke that when people are guiding meditations, it interrupts my thoughts and stories that I'm involved in my mind during meditation. That was a joke. So I'll just do some, and we'll sit for, we'll sit for approximately a half hour. So finding your seat, or if you're lying down, however you like to be when you meditate, just get settled so that you're comfortable, and notice how it is for your body as you settle in. And I'm going to ring the bell to begin, and then invite you to just listen to that bell and just notice that sound as it appears and then as it fades away. And so this is a mindfulness meditation, which will incorporate also some elements of loving kindness, just to brighten, gladden our hearts as we sit together. And so beginning by taking a deep breath in, and then relaxing, releasing. Just letting your shoulders drop down. And another breath in and out. And as you breathe out, just releasing any tension that's held in the body or the mind. We'll do it one more time. Breathing in together, the aliveness of this moment. And breathing out. Completely relaxing. And just aware of your whole body, sitting here, breathing. And bringing attention to the movement of the breath through the sensations in the body, if that's comfortable for you. And for some people, the breath is not soothing, so just focus on other sensations in the body, or the sounds of life around you as they appear and vanish. And you can notice the expansion of the rib cage and the contraction as you breathe in and out. The rise and fall of the diaphragm, the belly. And the coolness of the inhalation in the nostrils, and the subtle warmth of the exhalation. And if you feel like it, just let the sense of warmth or smile spread through your being as you relax into being here together. Allowing this sense of smiling in the eyes, as if you're allowing the corners of the eyes to just spread away from each other toward the temples. And all the area around the eyes softening. Relaxing as the outer corners of the eyes widen. Allowing your brow to be smooth. And the corners of the mouth to curve up just slightly. Sensing the inside of the mouth, smiling. Relaxing the jaw. And noticing the sensations that arise in the mouth and cheek area. And however it is for you today, whatever feelings may be arising, just this hint of a smile can help relax the whole being. And again, if you feel inclined, just visualizing or sensing this gentle, subtle smile spreading through the chest and the heart. And sensing how This might create space for whatever feeling or emotion may be arising. Just allowing whatever it may be, the emotions, the feelings in the heart, to rest in this tender, warm space of loving awareness. And taking a moment to return to the eyes, just softening and relaxing. Allowing the corners to widen. And feeling that slight smile in the corners of the mouth. And the subtle warmth in the heart and the chest. And now imagining, just sensing, feeling that warmth or the sense of a smile spreading through the whole body. The front and back of the body, the arms and legs and hands and feet. The sit bones. Imagining this sense of warmth, that subtle smile, spreading through the cells, the spaces between the cells. Just inviting whatever helps create a relaxed and open space or environment, atmosphere for the changing flow of thoughts and sensations that we call our mind stream. Just this warm, welcoming space for whatever arises, breath by breath, moment by moment. And imagining and sensing this relaxed, open space just spreading and radiating outward, So the whole space of awareness is suffused with the warmth and friendliness of this loving awareness. And resting in this great openness of heart and mind. Sitting up straight in the midst of experience, receiving, just receiving whatever sensations and feelings and thoughts come up. And when you noticing that the mind has wandered into the past or the future, just shift the body back slightly, maybe just an inch. Shifting back, stepping back into this stance, this posture of receptivity, receiving the breath, receiving the sounds and thoughts and feelings and sensations in the body. Stepping back into right now. And softening the eyes again. Inviting this quality of friendliness and ease with a slight smile at the mouth. And just smiling into your heart and the body. I don't know what happened. This has never exactly happened, that I lost connection like this. And I'm trying to sign back on.
I can actually hear you.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm
Good.
so sorry. I can't. I just thought I had lost you all. Okay, back to our sitting. We're going to finish our sitting. So when you notice the attention has been distracted, as it just was, and I'm sorry for causing that distraction, in any moment, we can always gently arrive again into this sense of aliveness of the body, sensing the experience being held in that warmth and ease of loving awareness. And resting again, just relaxing into this space of ease, receiving the moment, aware of the dance of sensations of feelings, of aliveness, and life itself unfolding in this great openness of heart and mind. Well, thank you, everybody. And I apologize for that disruption. It looked like you had all vanished, and the message I got was to rejoin the meeting. So it's so great. You know, it's almost like the technology did what our minds do. You know, it just like completely disconnected from what was going on in reality and made up a story that wasn't actually what was happening. So all the while we're here, right? Even when the mind deserts the body and goes off on into some story or fantasy or imagining, we're still here, and we can always come back to that sense of just being here together. So thank you for that, sitting together and sitting through the little interruption. So yeah, I wanted to speak a little bit today and then open up. I'd like to do the bulk of the sharing or teaching that I have to offer in dialogue with you, because we don't usually get to be together. It's really a privilege to be with all of you, and thank you, Alex, for inviting me. But I wanted to just reflect on some questions that have been coming up a lot in my own practice recently, which are questions of identity and wise view. You know, how I identify with what do I identify, and who is this I that is so willing to identify with this or that or the other thing. The wise view that is taught in this tradition, the tradition of Buddhist psychology and philosophy, out of which the mindfulness movement has emerged, that wise view really teaches us that our small, compressed, suffering sense of ourselves is not all of who we are, and that who we are most truly and deeply isn't identified with any one experience of identity, but is really much bigger than all of that, much more permeable and spacious and vast. And this is something that those of you who've been meditating for a while, you can actually sense this in your own lived experience of the moment, the interconnection, the way that as we practice, we begin to feel more and more kinship with all of life. And our hearts get, I think of it as tenderized. You know, my mom used to have this stuff called, came in like a spice jar, kind of only bigger, called meat tenderizer. And, you know, our family, we didn't have a lot of money. And so I think she would buy maybe meat that was not the best kind or cut, and it wouldn't be, and then she would sprinkle all this meat tenderizer on it and kind of rub that in. And I think of our practice a little bit like that with our hearts. You know, we're sprinkling this tenderizer on our hearts, and it softens and opens the heart. And then we feel so much more of our internal life. We become, you know, we develop more than a handshaking acquaintance with our inner lives and discover the vastness of everything that's in our inner life, as well as being more sensitive to what's to that which we're mindful of externally in the life of the world around us. And as we do that, that sensitivity or that tenderness that comes, it also needs some protection. And that's where we have the protection of the loving awareness. And, you know, I don't know about you, but I do not dwell in that state 24/7, but it can become the default setting. You know, recently something upset me, you know, some disagreement with some colleagues, and I notice the mind starts to ruminate about it, and then I identify with my point of view because of course I'm right, naturally, right? And I see, I can just feel it kind of, you know, the identification narrowing and getting stronger, and the loving awareness is kind of out the window. And and that's when taking that backward step, that's shifting back a little bit, even physically in your chair, or, you know, just moving your back slightly if you're sitting with your back, you know, sitting on the floor, cross-legged, however you may be sitting, that stepping back, what do we step back into? We step back into that space of loving awareness, that we can cultivate. We can cultivate the feeling of it, just like we did in our meditation just now. And I want to share something with you that I brought. My papers got a little scrambled when I thought I had lost you. Yeah, just to keep questioning and asking ourselves. This is a powerful way of practicing, asking ourselves, well, really, who am I? And my first teacher, who was a Korean Zen master, taught us his whole meditation instruction when we started out as beginners was to simply drop this question in, to sit quietly and ask ourselves, what am I? And it was interesting that it wasn't who am I? It was what am I? You know, and you quickly go through your who identities. You know, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a, you know, and then all our professional affiliations and identities. You exhaust those pretty quickly when you're meditating regularly. And what's underneath all of that? What do we discover? And, you know, he used to demonstrate it for us. Alex has seen me do this. He would say, here's how you practice. You ask yourself this question, what am I? And he would demonstrate. He'd get in his posture and he'd hold his hands in his Zen mudra like this, and he'd say, what am I? You may have heard John Kabat-Zinn do this too, because he and I started with the same teacher at the same time. And that was how he taught us to ask. And then he would give us the answer. Say, what am I? Don't know. What kind of answer is that? Don't know. Well, he was showing us, teaching us how to learn to be comfortable with the unknown, with the mystery of being, with the fact that scientists don't know really what consciousness is, or, you know, how to duplicate that, how to clone it. You know, it's a big mystery where we come from and where we go when we die. And he wanted us to begin to learn how to rest in that not knowing. And it's a skill that comes so in handy right now during this pandemic, which stretches on, and we don't know when we will come back to, or if it will ever be back to life as it was before. So this questioning of our identity in a way that is not designed to figure out, oh yeah, who exactly am I? But it's really to develop a passion for inquiring, for inquiry, for searching, for wanting to learn, for opening to learning. And it involves letting go of some past ideas of ourselves, but that turns out to also be very healing and beneficial, because lots of times those past ideas of ourselves that we carry are limiting. limiting in countless ways, emotionally, culturally, causing us not to have cultural humility toward people from different cultures, but to imagine that ours is, the best or the only or whatever. And um, and so in the process of doing this, of questioning our identity in this way and looking deeply into who we are, it is inevitable that as you practice, it will gradually seep into your being, or sometimes people have, a kind of sudden realization. It doesn't matter how it comes, but that deep, deep sense of connectedness to all life, of kinship with all life, it does come inevitably. And it's very liberating. It's very liberating from whatever limiting beliefs we have held about who we are and what this life of ours is for or about. And I've discovered, and maybe you have too, that the more I begin to um, release myself from the grip of believing all my various thoughts about who I am and who you are and who everybody else is, that the more all of that begins to relax into this more tenderized heart, the more that happens, the less concerned I am really with myself, until the moment when I feel threatened or, excuse me, somebody says something I don't like, and that sense of self, the small one, reappears suddenly. But really, more of the time, we can relax and be free from the worries and preoccupations with ourselves. And the benefit of that is that we can then kind of look around and see, how can I help? What needs to be done? I feel very fortunate that my first teacher focused much more with us uh, on really seeing how can we be of benefit in this life, and how can we help each other. And often the most powerful way to do that is just by being here and willing to learn and willing to listen, and our don't know mind. So obviously there's lots more I can say, but I just glance at the time and realize I want to leave room for some dialogue. And uh, and I don't know how you like to do it, Alex, if you just ask people to go into the reactions function and raise a hand, and then maybe call on them to unmute themselves. How do you like to do this?
Yeah, thank you, Trudy. We'll do it that way. So if you're new and you don't know how the Zoom thing works, there's going to be a little icon at the bottom of your screen if you're on a desktop, and it says participants. If you click on that, you can raise your hand through that, or you can raise your hand through the reactions. So there's going to be another icon that says reactions as well, and it's got a little thing that says raise hand. If you click on that, I'll be able to see you on the participants window. If you're on an iPad, if you look at the upper right-hand corner, right next to participants, it says more. There's 3 little dots. If you click on that, it'll allow you to raise your hand too. So it'll say raise hand. Just click on that. And if not, if that's all too complicated, we will keep an eye also on the screen. It's a little, might not get to you, so apologize for that, but you can do that too. But number one, participants window will be easier for all of us, so you can do that. All right, and I'll keep an eye on the participants screen right here, and I'll be calling on you and inviting you to unmute your mic. So thank you. Share, and you can share any reflections, you can ask any questions, take advantage of that. Trudy's here with us today. You can ask any questions, and also just share what was like for you to meditate in this way. How did that land for you? So
Yeah, and any questions you have about your meditation or your life, it doesn't have to be about what I was saying. And again, I'm just so moved that there's so many of you from all over, including one person, Tanaz, just said she's in Bombay, which means it's, 1:45 in the morning. So I call that dedication. um, so don't be shy. Any question you have, and it can be a reflection too. It's going to correspond to, I guarantee you, it's going to correspond. It's going to touch somebody else's heart because there's lots of us here together today.
So I see you, Joe, and then I see you, Luz. Hi, both of you. So good to see you. Okay. So I'm going to invite you to unmute, Joe. So go ahead and unmute your mic. There you go.
Yeah. Thank you. I thought I'd be the first one to raise my hand today because I don't know. I like to be first sometimes. That's the egoic mind, I guess. But thank you.
Born in your family, Joe?
Pardon?
Are you the eldest in your family?
No, I'm the youngest.
Oh,
the youngest, and that's why I'm now speaking out.
good. Yes, that's why you like to go first. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Trudy. Firstly, I want to thank you for your beautiful guidance, and there were lots of pauses. I liked the flow of the sound behind your words. There was some flowing water-like sound, and it was all fantastic. And thank you, Alex, too, for facilitating this. My question, Trudy, is I was thinking of goals and goal setting, short term, medium term, longer term. And I was wondering what your thoughts were on dealing with goals, with your experience and meditation practice. How do you go about setting goals, if you do set goals, and how about dealing with the frustrations of goal setting? Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, it's a good question. When I'm meditating, my goal is simply to be present, Joe. So that's the first thing, just to be here, to show up for the moment, to be as present as I can be. In terms of goal setting for my life, I have discovered now I'm elderly by now. And so, I've been around for 75 years, and I have discovered that I have to hold the goals lightly. Otherwise, I fall into self-blame or self-reproach, or in some way losing a sense of compassion toward myself because I inevitably fall short of my goals. I don't know about you, but I always set goals that are too ambitious, actually. Or I think that I can do them in an amount of time that isn't realistic because life intervenes and it always takes longer than we think it will. So I don't think there's anything wrong. We have to have some goals, and we have to have some commitments that guide us toward our purpose or intention. But I do find it's a little more spacious, maybe, to think in terms of intentions, setting intentions. That gives me room, whereas a goal, I either meet it or I fail. So that's how I would hold it, if that's useful to you. Can I just ask you, Joe, do you find you're hard on yourself? Is that where this question is coming from, when you feel you haven't met your goal? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I have been learning about self-compassion, and I'm now becoming less hard on myself. In fact, goals are something I don't hold as paramount anymore.
Good.
And I was interested in your attitude and
yeah, no, I don't either. I really, as I said, I think more in terms of intentions. So
intention.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe, for your question. Luz, I think you're next. I'm gonna invite you to unmute your mic. So go ahead. There you go.
Thank you, Alex. And hi, Trudy. Thank you so much for your time and for being here. Feels so special. My question is about this not knowing. And funny enough, I thought of Alex the other day because she read to us a story about this gentleman who has, the gentleman and the horse and the maybe yes, maybe no, and where his horse gets lost. And they're like, oh, you have terrible luck. And then they find the horse and a mare and they're like, you have great luck. And his answer to everything is maybe yes, maybe no. And I encountered the story again and I thought of Alex, and it's been what's on my mind a lot, how to hold the maybe yes, maybe no, because we are all probably in points of a lot of self-questioning. And personally, I'm in a point of transition. So there's opportunity for growth, but there's a lot of uncertainty. And I'm interested in your take psychologically for those of us who might come from a chaotic upbringing, that maybe yes, maybe no could be a little triggering. I know it is for me. How to work around that? How to hold more space in these times of transition? Because it's easier when there's not as much on the line than when there is.
No, that's a great question. And I also am really grateful to you for bringing up this other way that it lands in you and in people who may have had a chaotic upbringing without much guidance or what I would call reasonable, sane, healthy, kind limits, from parental figures or caretakers that let you know quite clearly where you stand and so forth. And so with the absence of that, the maybe yes, maybe no, the don't know can just trigger feelings of anxiety and being kind of lost or confused or something like that. So the don't know doesn't mean that I don't know. Well, maybe in the ultimate sense, there's no right or wrong, but I also know what's right and what's wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I can hold both. The spaciousness of being willing to be surprised by life, to be freed from the tyranny of my usual expectations. That kind of don't know that's liberating, while at the same time knowing really clearly where I stand and where I am in this moment. And that you can know, you can feel your feet on the ground loose, you can feel your hands in your lap or wherever they are. You know what I'm saying? You can know where you are in this moment, how it is for you, what emotions may be arising, what thoughts are flowing through your brain, all of that. And the don't know is really meant to point you past the personal to the more vast and impersonal view of life. And I think if you can realize that there's a time to know and a time to not know, that might help. The time to know is when you feel confused or unsteady or anxious, then you ground yourself. I know what I'm feeling right this minute. I know that it's now. It's not the past. It's not the future. It's I'm safe in this moment, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
No, that's really helpful. I like it landed well when you kind of separated, right? And I think that's a key piece, at least it will be for me, just the separating of what I do know and what I am holding space to not know for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Luz. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I see Bonnie next. Bonnie, I'm going to invite you to unmute your mic. There you go.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you for this evening. It's been absolutely fabulous. My question is about grief. And one of my closest friends died on Boxing Day, and he used to come to the sessions on Monday and Friday, and until COVID really, he didn't know anything about mindfulness, and so he was completely new to the practice and just loved it, and it really helped him because he was extremely lonely. And I am wondering how I can use my practice to just help in that process of grief. And how I do that to help me. And I don't know how it can help, I'm not sure, but that was my question. It was about grief and using the mindfulness practice in some way to be part of that process. If you have some thoughts, that would be really helpful.
Thank you for telling me where your question is coming from, and I'm sorry, really sorry for the loss of your friend. That's the first.
Thank you.
Yeah, really sorry about that. I think with grief, where the practice actually can be helpful is often grief. I call it crooked grief. Often grief emerges in these ways that aren't totally recognizable as grief. For example, reproaching ourselves. If only I had done this, if only I had said that, if only, all the if onlys that come up when we've lost somebody. Or it can come up, it can even manifest as not just the regrets of if onlys, but even feelings of anger towards oneself or hating oneself. It can be that strong. It can be feelings of anger toward the person who died because they left you and you needed them and loved them and wanted them in your life. Be very mad at them. There are so many ways that grief comes out. It can be anxiety, just feeling scared all the time, like when's the other shoe going to drop? There's so many ways that aren't about the sadness. And where the practice can help is when you allow yourself to just drop in to the heartbreak and the sadness. Actually, that is easier to bear than all these other ways that grief manifests. And I remember a moment after a breakup. This was a lot younger, but had been meditating, for a pretty long time. And I remember sitting in the meditation hall and just tears pouring down my face because I was so grief-stricken to lose that relationship. And what came to me was this image that I had of the Dalai Lama years and years ago when he was young. And it was a picture I had pinned up in my kitchen because underneath he said, "Maybe I am the last Dalai Lama. It's all right. There's nothing wrong." And I was like, what? How can you say that? Your whole people is depending on you. How can you say something like that? But that day when I was just like weeping in the meditation hall, I felt it. It was like, oh, my heart is broken and it's all right. And that is not a feeling that comes up when you're reproaching yourself or regretting things, or do you know what I mean? That sense of, yes, I'm sad, I'm grieving. And in that moment, this is really important because grief is very isolating. Your heart is breaking and then you go out to get groceries and everybody just seems fine. And you feel exiled from the rest of humanity in grief. But the practice can also help because in that moment, you can realize, oh, this is what it feels like to be grieving. This is what it feels like to be a human being who is grieving. And in that moment, you are actually connected to every other human being on the planet who has lost somebody they love. And it doesn't take away the loss and the sorrow, but it takes away the other feelings of isolation, of self-blame and regret, and the things I call crooked grief because they don't help us move through the experience.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for asking, for sharing your heart. Yeah.
Thank you, Bonnie. And if you don't mind maybe sharing your friend's name, I hear that he was part of the group too, and I did not know that happened. So my heart goes out to you as well.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, his name was George Murnahan. I'll drop you a line. Thank you very much.
And Bonnie, look in the chat because people are sending you messages.
Oh, sweet. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
So we're gonna ask Lindsay to inviting you to unmute, Lindsay. There you are.
Hi. Hi, is the sound okay?
Yep,
It's
I
great.
can hear you fine.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so my question is about like the Buddhist teaching of impermanence, because it's something I've been learning about and reflecting about. And I know it's meant to be, I guess it kind of in some ways relates to Bonnie's question in the sense that, everything is impermanent, all of us are going to die at some point. And it's supposed to be like a liberating thing, but like when I think about it, it kind of crushes me. And there's a lot of, it's like, it's just, I don't know, it's a hard, I guess a hard pill to swallow, but it's like, it's happening all the time, right? Like in our daily lives, things are impermanent. And I guess I'm thinking, like, for example, I'm fostering a kitten that I rescued. And I said when I rescued her, like, okay, I'm just fostering her. She's going to be my teacher on impermanence because I'm not going to keep her. I already have 3 rescues who were supposed to be fosters, and I ended up keeping them because I just couldn't give them up. And I've had her for like 3 weeks, and I already want to keep her. And, and it's like, and my boyfriend and I are already talking about, okay, like, can we keep her? And, she was supposed to be my teacher of like, no, like, you're going to go, I'm not going to keep you. And, and it's just
letting go. And instead she's reinforcing the wish to hang on.
Yes. It's just like, and like, there are so many examples I can think of with that. Like sometimes I even just look at like my dog or my cat and I think about the fact that they're going to die. And I start bawling. And
so here's something that I want to say to you, which is that you are really practicing deeply with the understanding of impermanence, of anicca, of the transiency and fleetingness of this life. And when we practice deeply and really let that realization sink in and just feel it in your bones, the reaction is either terror, sorrow, or denial, and getting distracted from it. So the sadness, I think, is completely normal, and you won't be caught here in this particular facet of understanding life forever. But I think it makes me take a deep breath and realize, yes, sometimes I look around and I realize everyone I see, they're not going to be here in a while, or we're all going to be gone. And it's stunning, actually. And I don't feel like making room for somebody else. I like being here. I think we all do, even if our life is really hard. We usually feel like it's worth continuing, that we aren't going to die or want to, for the most part. And when we do want to, we usually need to get help to change that feeling, because there's a lot more to life than the awareness of our mortality. But the awareness of our mortality is not designed to just break your heart or terrify us. It's designed to help us appreciate the exquisiteness of each moment of our life. Because too often we're kind of sleepwalking through life with our busyness with this or that, or getting preoccupied with, what my sister said to me yesterday and what I'm going to say back. And instead realizing, oh, this is not forever. So how do I want to actually live, given that the time of death is uncertain for all of us? And again, that isn't meant to be just frightening, but by acquainting ourselves and becoming more familiar with our mortality, which is exactly what you're doing right now in your practice, we're actually strengthening our ability to be with that truth. And, you know, you're really young. This is going to serve you as you grow older. And it's also going to serve you if you ever have the occasion to keep somebody company who is toward the end of their life, or maybe even doing their dying. Because your lack of fear, your understanding allows you to then be present and peaceful and a calming presence for somebody who might be afraid. And you're calm, not because it isn't true, but because you've understood this truth and you've used it to appreciate the beauty and the richness of what is given to us in this life, all of us, no matter our circumstances. And so, does that make sense? It's really something that's a very two-sided process, but you're on the side that you're on right now, and that's good. You're really letting that realization sink in. And so I want to applaud or celebrate or cheer you on in that courage. It doesn't feel like courage right now. It just feels like I want to hang on to every little kitty cat that comes into my home. But, you know, I'm not going to talk about what it's like to live with many, many, many cats. Just because that's not the heart of the question. You know, the heart of the question is, how can I love fully, open my heart fully to love, and still be willing to let go? And that's a lifelong question. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's something that all of us are working with, really, I think, our whole lives in one way or another, because it's the central, you know, we all celebrate when a baby is born. It's such a joyful occasion. But with that baby's birth, as simultaneously means, you know, old age and death. And this is our life. And when we, you know, in all its heartbreaking, really, beauty, exquisiteness, and also the horror that's in life too. We want in our practice to be able to embrace and hold it all with some measure of tenderness. You know, Pope Francis at one point talked about a revolution in tenderness. And I loved that. He said, the revolution that the world needs is the revolution of la tendereza, tenderness. So thank you. And Bonnie, I hope you're looking at all the people who knew George and cared about him with you. So I think we would have time for one more if there is one more. And if not, I will turn it over to Alex now with my deep appreciation for your practice and your presence, all of you.
Thank you, Trudy, and thank you, Lindsay, for that wonderful question as well. So we have Susan, actually. Susan, we have a couple of minutes, but I think we can.
Yeah, I didn't see the hands. Now I do.
I'm going to invite you to unmute right now. There you go. There you go.
Thanks. So, Trudy, I read, it seemed like recently this beautiful letter you wrote that you closed your center in Los Angeles. Is that right? And I was so struck by not only how gracious it was. I remember you were thanking the janitors and everyone who'd helped you. And I was amazed at how this had been your life, but yet I felt like I didn't sense regret. I didn't sense how the rest of us fall back to wishing things were different or it was like an incredible acceptance of what was. And you were both able to thank everyone and give, you know, this message that it's time we have to move on. But is that right? Or how did you get to that? I always thought it was extraordinary.
Well, the way I got to it, Susan, is that it was happening. I mean, in the sense that the pandemic, you know, we didn't see an end in sight yet. I mean, now we do because we have the vaccinations, but we didn't at that point. And we also knew that even when a vaccine might come, it would take a long time to get everybody safe again together. And we were hemorrhaging money every month on rents for spaces that nobody could be in. And I think what you're asking is, how do we accept and come to terms with reality when it isn't the reality we want or like or thought we would have? You know, that's maybe your question.
Well, and make it was so honest. There was that's what struck me about the whole thing. I mean, it's what you're saying, but the honesty, not that you do you know what I'm saying? That that's what I walked away with. Wow.
Well, I'm glad you walked away with that, because I have conversations sometimes with my husband. I'm like, because I actually, it's not even something that I am honest. I say how it is for me. You won't ever, as he said, kind of rolling his eyes, what you see is what you get. You aren't going to ever wonder where you stand. Do you know what I mean? And that's just, I can't even take credit for it. You know, some of us maybe are more skilled at the art of deception or dissimulation. And it is honest. And I think that what you're noticing too is the fruit of, you know, I've been practicing almost 50 years, Susan. So that's a lot of ups and downs of life to be with. And, you know, and I think what happens with the practice is it brings that quality of equanimity and the ability to accept things as they are, which paradoxically is what allows us to then work toward changing them. You know, I can't change the pandemic. We're not going to reopen the centers, but we're going to change how we look at the future and what might make sense going forward. To be honest, one center was too small. We had outgrown it. One center was too noisy and had no parking. That helped. So when it's time to reopen, maybe we'll find, you know, a more accommodating space for everybody. Yeah, thank you. But I really appreciate that you're sharing your response. It's really helpful. And
yeah, I didn't know you, or I just saw this and read it and was completely blown away by the whole the experience.
I loved our centers. And when we have to let something go, it's sort of like when you have a breakup. You may love that person to bits, but then you think of all the faults and you try to make sure that they're gone. That's not the most elevated practice, but I just shared a little bit of that with you too about the centers.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Alex, for inviting me. I love your group.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for all your knowledge and everything. It's been amazing. So maybe we can close our session together with just a little bit of gratitude at the end. So if you're comfortable wherever you are, we're just going to tune in to bring in a sense of gratitude towards, first of all, Trudy, for being here, for really spreading all this knowledge and wisdom, and for taking the time to do this for us. So maybe allowing the sense of gratitude to just come into your life right now, into your being. And then gratitude towards yourself for putting aside the time to do this, which is not easy to practice in this way together and to practice within yourself. Maybe allowing that sense of gratitude to just permeate your body, permeate the being. Maybe offering this moment, offering our time together to Bonnie, first of all, for her loss, for our loss as a community with George. I do remember him. And to wishing George a good farewell, and to wishing all of us the understanding of this transition in life. So I thank him for showing us the way. And I thank everybody for being here today. So much gratitude to all of you. I'll see you all on Monday again. So thank you, Trudy. Thank you, everybody. And we can, let me just change the settings. And so we're free to unmute the mics and say bye to Trudy, say bye to each other. See you on Monday. Oh, and by the way, before you go, Trudy teaches every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, same structure as today. You're all welcome. I often attend that class, so you'll see me there as well. So it's up to you. You can check it out. There's some links on the chat as well about her class and everything else that she offers. So
Thank you
thanks
all.
all.
Thank you all for your practice. And thank you to Naz for your messages. I couldn't respond to everything in the chat, but I really appreciate, just appreciate that all of you are on this path, that all of us are on this path together. Thank you for inviting me. Bye.
Thank you. And we can all say bye.
Thanks, Trudy. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Trudy.
Such a blessing. Such a blessing.
Gracias, Alex, de veritat. Gràcies, Alex. Gràcies, Trudy. Gràcies de tot cor.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Trudy. And see you, Bonnie. Take care.
Hi, Louisa.
Thank you for sharing, Bonnie.
Hi, Laura. Good night.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Trudy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Bonnie, for reminding me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Hi,
Bonnie.
Julia.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you. Thank you so much.